stages a lot of the time. I think Village being an outlier. Of course, we talked about some of the things you can run on Sanctum as well.
Well, it does look like we will be opening up on the Village, and hang on here, Hex. We'll see if he sticks on this, but Mangachu, at least for now, is teasing everyone's favorite robot. And I don't know if I should say that because some people might go, I prefer Zenyatta. Well, for many people, Bastion.
But this is like Zenyatta's homeland. I mean, come on, smack in the face. This is his map anyway.
He's an outcast now.
I think you can say everyone's favorite robot, and we would assume it would be Bastion because that's how little Zenyatta we see lately, tragically, unfortunately.
Although, bear in mind, the bird actually pulls the strings. He's not a willing participant in this. The bird is the evil one.
Absolutely a popular fan theory for sure. I do believe we'll probably seeing both teams go top right here and then do the Braveheart, as I like to call it.
Unfortunately, Mangachu has swapped off onto the Pharah, but it's going to be Spree striking first blood on the Pharah first in this Pharah v Pharah matchup. And Spree raining rockets from above. He's already picked up 2, Genji and Winston respectively, but still back and forth between the two teams right now. Both down 2 early on. Mangachu still up and in it, is getting helped out by the Mercy, and as a result, he's picked up 3 and is slowly starting to push us back in favor of Renegades.
Somehow Renegades is able to, or actually Luminosity able to get a couple kills as our overlay. It does help us out eventually. You'd have to imagine though that if Renegades is able to take this point and successfully hold it, that someone on Luminosity has to go to deal with this combo, because right now they don't have the tools to deal with the Pharah and Mercy combination.
Well, first cap is going to go the way of Renegades, but they don't have quite a dominant presence on the point right now. They still have everyone coming back in. Potentially an opportunity here for LG to get back in the quick attack, but they're waiting so long here, Hex, that it is going to give Renegades a chance to regroup.
Yeah, Renegades just kind of poking around on the point. Jesus probably looking for a very aggressive one as the battle does begin again. Spree comes in over top, but not long for this world as Winston and Pharah team up on him.
Mangachu right now in over the top, pretty close to that barrage, but not going to get it. Immediately taken out by Icefeld, and this is where Icefeld can take over a game. On Tracer, low number situation, darting in and around. Numbers not really in his favor right now, but he's able to get on Saipe, and for now, not too much pressure on him, but he does get just a little bit too close to Juvenile, taken out, and that's going to let Renegades hold on for just a little bit more.
Yeah, just very low. Here comes the response finally from Luminosity to deal with the threat that is Mangachu and Shurlaki, who've been raining terror upon them. He will be the one to switch over to the 76, and everyone plays everything on Luminosity, apparently.
LG does not have very defined roles, but they do have versatile players. There's upsides and downsides up, but Justice raining from Mangachu in over the top only gets 1. He's neutralized pretty quickly here as LG looks to bring this fight right back. But again, it's close as Saipe wins a Genji v Genji battle, and Renegades will be able to push things out here once more.
That is kind of the main thing of note here, is that they are winning their counterpart battles. They are taking Pharah v Pharah, they're taking Tracer v Tracer, and they are taking Genji v Genji right there. So on a purely mechanical and dueling level, Renegades is winning.
And for Renegades, they still have their war chest fully stocked here, just about. You take a look at the ult power they're going to have in the next fight. It's going to be hard for LG to take this unless Ube just has the Dragon Blade of the Gods, but already down Icefeld. That's going to make it rough. Ube, though, does bring out that Dragon Blade. Has nothing here just yet to show for it. Does finally get in the Saipe, but the rest of his team dying all around him, and Renegades will hold once more, and that's going to let them take the round.
They burned everything because the clock was running down, and I gotta say, I don't think Jesus died that game. If he did, it was very brief, and he was back alive. A constant nuisance in the back of Luminosity.
And one thing that's worth noting, too, is that Mangachu, of the 2 Pharahs, was way more supported than Spree was during that. And that's why, in that first fight, Renegades was able to turn that more to their advantage. I thought Spree had a great opening, but when Mangachu is getting pocketed the entire time, he had the time and space to pull that back in Renegade's favor.
Well, Spree perhaps made his name on Zarya, and he's going to queue up the Zarya right here instead, perhaps giving a little more support. No wholesale changes coming across. Icefeld will rotate over to 76. Ube is going to stay on the Genji, but I like that Genji a lot more now that he's going to have the support of his... All right, Ube switching to 76. Icefeld on to McCree. This is Luminosity Gaming at their finest.
Well, it is Luminosity Gaming. Finest might be too complimentary of a word to this just confusion as to who's running what, but Icefeld is going to be on that Cowboy early on right now, and Jesus does not care, just takes him out with some well-placed blinks and a flank, as Renegades, again, getting the better initiation on LG early on this fight. They haven't won it here just yet, but it is very likely with how pushed back LG is right now.
Mangachu continues to go untouched above, and there goes Hidan down there. It looks like Lucio is not long for this world either, as Jesus continues to do whatever he wants, donning the cloak of invisibility, cleaning up all of these kills. Extremely one-sided so far from Renegades here, and Luminosity doesn't seem to know the answer. I like this though, ZP.
I do like this, and you take a look at the pressure from Renegades here and how they're running this. You have Mangachu throwing in poking rockets before they even get to the front. You have Jesus setting up a flank with a pulse bomb. They're not making it easy for LG to get a normal control point push where everyone goes in at the same time. What do you even go on? They're split up, but oh, Mangachu eats a sleep dart, immediately takes the dirt nap there. 5v5 between both teams, but you know what? Jesus is still alive and around, and the pulse bomb connects on the Lucio. He has been unchained.
In theory, the double hit scan that Luminosity is running should be effective against this, but Jesus has just tapped into something brand new right now. It has been a great week for Tracer play, I'd say, across the board this tournament and others. That is just amazing. No answers for him, and at some point, I guess Icefeld's just going to try to duel him on Tracer.
Icefeld was thinking McCree would be the way to deal with it, but it hasn't really worked. And that's the problem with McCree at times, is that McCree's really good against Pharah, really good against Tracer, but if you're dealing with both at the same time, it can be rough. And also, you have Saipe here in the wings as Genji. Multiple threats on this Renegades team that Luminosity has not dealt with. The Justice raining from above. Mangachu gonna fall. 5v4 opportunity here as Luminosity might finally be getting something going here next.
They finally get something going as the combo is at the very least taken down. Hidan will take down Ube though, so turning into a bit of a scrappy affair. Saipe still now untouched. His just going to right-click his way to glory. Icefeld gets a kill late, but not enough. Still, even though taking down the combo early, you have to devote so much resources to take down that combo early. Everyone else from Renegades just ate Luminosity alive.
And Hex, it just feels like Renegades is playing out of their minds right now. They're getting contribution from every single player, and LG, even when they take out current threats, are not able to take out the other threats.
There are some games where it's not necessarily the composition this or the theory that, it's straight up mechanics. Ube's gonna come in though with Attack Visor ZP.
Attack Visor, Nano Boost on the way, has 2 unanswered kills, make it 3. This will be an LG take unless Mangachu has some crazy heroics, not super likely, but look at this from the Renegades' perspective, Hex. This is totally fine. They only need one team fight to put this round away.
One team fight, and Luminosity did burn through a substantial portion of their ultimates, but Luminosity with finally getting some footing on control, which they have not had before. It looks like they don't necessarily have the perfect answer to Mangachu, but Icefeld playing on his comfort hero, known for his Tracer shenanigans, trying to outduel Jesus. We'll see which one gets the better bomb in this situation.
Well, he's gonna have to show up with the bomb right now because 2 of his teammates are already gone. It's gonna be up to him to swing this back in his favor. Graviton in, Pulse Bomb coming in for the Big Bang. Not going to do much of anything there. And this is rough for LG as Jesus is once again darting in and around. Icefeld under pressure, trying to count Mercy, and taken down by that Mercy Tracer combo as Renegades looking to be in prime position to take this round, be 1 round away from putting themselves up 2-1.
Well, the desperation will come in, not even get to the point on time. ZP, I think this composition is so effective because of all of the angles that all the damage is coming in from. You've got ground on Tracer, you've got every sort of access with Genji, and then Mangachu, the constant threat over the top.
The problem here is that they're dealing with threats. Unlike other compositions where you go back a patch or so where you had 4 tank and you know, all right, we kind of have to watch out for Roadhog hooks, nothing too explosive. Now it's a situation where there's a Tracer on one side, Fair on the other side, a Genji diving in, big pick off.
Well, Mangachu trying to cleanse this, and you know, it cuts, even given the 0% pick rate, this is the map we always saw Junkrat on. He can be very effective on the stairs.
Well, Apex stats eat your heart out because a Junkrat has arrived. And this is a good quarter for Junkrat. It breaks shields. It really hurts his spam. There's not too many ways of going. And Juvenile, he likes what he sees. He dives right in, gets on the super fluke. Early pickoff here for the side of Renegades, and that should allow them to get an early cap here on the Sanctum.
What year is this? 2016 Junkrat on Sanctum, but as you said, this was the stage he was always strong on, always able to really win that first battle. And this is a stage that the first battle will always take place on the stairs.
Right, and now look at how good Junkrat is at denying this opening choke where teams do try and brute force in. Brute forcing in versus Junkrat spam, possible, not necessarily good for your health, and it's just cool to see this in play once more. Nano boost in from the defensive Renegades, going to just defend this gateway even more. Now, they're not going to get much out of that, but it's buying them time.
It's not spam ZP, it is tactical area denial. Just a tad bit of spam as he is launching these balls all over the place, trying to keep them back. Also, the traps are a big effect too, so they're gonna make sure that they just back up a little bit, give up a little bit of ground, but now look at these ults on the ready for Renegades.
Renegades has all the tools they need to push LG back right now, and there's a Graviton early on here from Saipe. Gonna be pulling in at least 3. Do they have the follow through there? There's the Earth Shatter moving in from Juvenile, but they don't get it there. Icefeld on the flank. Tac Visor doing way more work. The supports getting drilled from the back line, and here comes the tire. We haven't seen too much tires in recent times, and it takes down 2. Explosive stuff from Mangachu, and we still have a fight.
I think people just don't even know what that voice line is. Fire in the what? I don't know what that is, but Icefeld made sure to take advantage of the high ground on the left side, now dueling the Trash Mouse as he took down Mineral.
Mangachu's still alive, the one person who did not die in that fight. Tire did work, he found Lucio towards the end, and Renegades coming right back. Now, defensive Graviton is out here from LG. Icefeld is there at the fall through, but this is still going the way of Renegades as they swarm onto the point, retake it, 70% Hex.
That's so much damage. He is just chunking it out, and he's going to be having another tire in short order as well at 86%. As you mentioned, 80% on the point, probably only one last good push for Luminosity. Some stuff to work with though, ZP.
They do have a few ultimates they can use in their favor, most notably Sound Barrier, which will let them get through this crazy amount of area denial and try and take this point. So I'd expect Mineral to initiate with this and Super Fluke to go as deep as he can to land that hammer. There's a Sound Barrier early on. Hook is going to come out here. Mangachu trying to get away. Whole Hog in on the way from LG, but Super Fluke is down. Didn't get as much as he wanted, but there's the fall through from Spree. Should let LG take this, but again, it's a rough situation. X have taken it, but now they have to hold it for the rest of the map.
Going to be very difficult to hold, but at least there is some hope left. Of course, this is the last stage too, so to avoid going down 2-1 in this series, Luminosity needs to hold this for the rest of the stage and then win a couple more as well. Mangachu, much to the chagrin of, I believe, everyone, now off of the Junkrat.
There's a reason for that. It's much harder for Junkrat to push in than to hold.
Right.
That's just the nature of the hero. So him going to Roadhog here makes all the sense in the world before he retake. And you look at that, Ube a little bit too far in, ends up dying. Icefeld trying to pull it back with the Pulse Bomb, gets on to Juvenile, flanking around the side, but this is not necessarily great here from LG. There's Spree, Graviton connects, only going to get one as he gets knocked right on the ground by that Earthshire, but Jesus is still in the back line, still a threat. 3 kills here from Renegades here, Hex, and they are on the way to taking the Paul outright if they just get a little bit more.
There's not much left for Luminosity to even contest this point, despite losing Juvenile extremely early. They're just going to try to roll in here now, but it's not going to be enough. A victory dive off the edge? No, not quite, but that is going to be Renegades taking Nepal.
And Renegades coming back in strong form here on the last 2 maps, and I gotta say, if there was one player to praise here, Mangachu was great with the Junkrat for sure, but Jesus had some great moments both on Sanctum and the round prior on Gardens, or sorry, not Garden, but on Shrine. So honestly, very good Tracer play coming out.
Yeah, sure. Tracer's great. It was wonderful. Amazing. Rubbish Raccoon, Junkrat, Trash Mouse on the field. Everyone's got to be stoked about that. Everyone who's played a little bit of Junkrat. The tragic thing about Junkrat not being played is everyone who plays Overwatch, and you know, like people who play Overwatch, watch Overwatch, he's so fun to play. I've never met anyone who's like, I hate playing Junkrat. Of course you like playing Junkrat. The voice lines are fun. The traps are great.
Even if it's not all the time, you know,
Right.
it's like, yeah, I'll play some Junkrat.
So that was great to see. Mangachu just continues to show his expansive field. He is also he's always played Junkrat, you know, in the past for his team too.
Well, the other thing too, he's been the story on Renegades for
Right.
one reason or another. His deep hero pool is one, also the support he gets is another. But it's cool to see some of these older school strategies come out here. I always thought Junkrat on Sanctum was somewhat underrated, and it definitely worked out there versus LG.
Yeah, he's floating around roster lists for a long time. He's been through a lot of stuff. I think it was Grouchy Desperados, which became NG Red. Then he was on the brief Tempo Storm rosters, and then kind of in the ether, and then plucked by this Renegade squad, and he can play everything.
He was gone from the comp scene for a good 3-4 months.
Right.
I mean, yeah, he was on the Tempo roster for a little bit, but that Tempo roster was not particularly good, so we didn't really see much of them. And you go back to NG Red, you have to go back to the summer of last year when they really had good results. So Mangachu is a player that's been around the scene for a while, but he hasn't really been in a force in comp until just recently when he's joined this Renegade squad.
Right.
And I think right now the question that is in a lot of people's minds, certainly a lot of these other teams' minds, is how do you deal with the multiple threats? coming out of Renegades, because you'd mentioned like, well, Mangachu's making all these plays and really, earning a lot of fans in a lot of ways. But then you've got Jesus making plays as well and really having a huge impact on Tracer. And not to mention, I mean, they've got the Pharah threat. They've got so many tools in their arsenal.
I would say it's a bit of a paradigm shift, because think about Overwatch really in the last little bit, where what have you seen out of teams? You had 4 tank setups, which had a very different gameplay flow and how you work things. You were really more concerned with, how do I land the big AoE team ultimate? How do I dodge the Roadhog? Now you have to position differently. You have to prioritize threats differently, because they're coming at you from more angles in these more mobile and agile setups. And I think it can be handled. I just think the teams don't necessarily have the greatest amount of practice on it, given recent events.
I think it's actually odd. I think the best way right now, until someone devises a better strategy, is fight fire with fire. That you have to run your own aggro, and you just have to win those duels. Because there was some times during those maps where I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, there's not a whole lot of analysis here. They're just playing really, really well. They're just out-tracking. They're just mechanically beating them.
The thing about Overwatch in any game in the FPS genre is that there's a lot to be said for strategy, tactics, and out-positioning, outflanking another player. But at some point, there are moments where you are simply better at clicking on people than the other team. Right. And you do get that a little bit more often when DPS heroes are in play by their very variable nature.
That said, I think that style of play lends itself to different maps differently. And so Luminosity, they were looking a lot stronger on King's Row, where you can be a little bit more collected. They had a little bit of a struggle as against the aggressive defense, but they ended up pulling out in the end. And actually, we do have the next map being Dorado. It was either Gibraltar or Dorado. Actually, both of these teams have a winning record on Dorado in 2017. So now are we wondering, well, is Luminosity going to try to rein things in a little bit more, play a little bit more, maybe play standard play, slow things down, and is that going to work?
I think it always helps to have smaller areas and smaller corridors, especially against these triple threats where there's the Genji and the Tracer, because now there's one flank path, and maybe a Tracer comes in, but you don't have to worry about a Genji behind you. Of course, the Pharah is the ever-looming presence, but the smaller the map, and we've seen this with other teams as well, other teams would struggle dealing with triple threats, that Dorado is actually pretty decent for it. It's controlled, there's chokes.
And going to Dorado here is really no surprise. You look at LG's history, they do very well on Dorado. They even give Immortals a rough time on Dorado, where arguably Dorado is Immortals' best map. Yeah. So from a map selection standpoint, this makes a whole lot of sense for LG, and it's because they're just very familiar with the map. They have great engages on it, and they don't do it in the way that Renegades might do, or Renegades probably will be going more to fair play and all the rest. So both teams are good on Dorado here, but they do it in different ways.
Although, you know who used to see a lot of play on Dorado, hero-wise?
I know.
Who is that?
It's a little fellow named Junkrat. He's pretty good. And I believe that it will be defense first for Renegades. But Renegades has not been showing Junkrat on Dorado. They have been showing something a little bit interesting, though. And another hero that I like to see, of course, we've already seen Tor, but they will also run a Symmetra as well on Dorado on their defense. And we've seen them shut teams out.
Well, I know you've been disappointed in the lack of Symmetras being played. You know? We've seen plenty of building, but not enough of those little laser turrets.
Yeah, I like every hero to get their day, right? I think that's when Overwatch is at its best. And so far, I mean, honestly, for a first day of a tournament, we've seen Junkrat, we've seen Bastion, there was some Zenyatta. I think one of the only heroes we haven't seen is Hanzo and Symmetra so far.
Well, have we not seen Symmetra?
No, we saw Verbo and Symmetra.
Okay, yeah, we saw
once. I was like going through this list in my head, because at this point I'm like, well, anything's possible.
We haven't seen Sombra and Hanzo.
Well, I will say this, is that we did see some Bastion today, but post-patch, whenever that may be, probably going to be seeing a lot more of Bastion, for better or for worse, because he has been a terror in PTR scrims that we've seen. So, coming attractions.
Well, I'll tell you what, there's plenty more potential analysis to come here. I personally wouldn't be surprised to see Hanzo on this map, but I don't want to dive too deep in here, because we are about to go live with game number 4. And right now, Luminosity, they're trying to tie it up going into bring it to game 5, that is. Here we are on Dorado. Take it away.
The streets of Dorado, Hex. This is, of course, one of the classic Overwatch maps. It was in the beta very early. And when you take a look at it, it's interesting because you have a very unique defensive posture here in the courtyard into a verticality aspect in the streets, and it's really let teams specialize on this map and come up with cool ways of going in on it.
Yeah, I do want to talk mostly about first point, because given the defenses we've seen tonight, we might not see the rest of this map, but it is more so like a hybrid map than some of the other standard escort maps, as that first point feels like if you win the first point take, you're going to get that first point with the cart. So it does feel a little bit hybridy. Of course, last on Dorado can be absolutely impossible to take at times. Second, probably one of my favorite stages overall, given that high ground as we go there. But what makes Dorado's first so hard to push for the offense?
Well, what makes it hard to push for the offense is that unlike other maps where you can run, dive, and go straight in, you look at the geometry here in Dorado, it's rough to run an early dive. Sure, you can go up the stairs, but if the defense catches you coming up the stairs, you're in for a rough time. Now, speaking of defense here, Hex, the dream is real. We've been predicting it for a while, but double builder coming out here for Renegades.
It's very difficult to deal with. I think they have the right answers for it, and I think you can run a dive-ish composition, but you can't dive the center. I think we need to see teams go more over to the right side flank. They have both heroes who can do the right side flank, in Genji and Pharah. They need to come over the top. There's a lot of buildings that need to be destroyed.
And this is a case where you do have the double threat from the Pharah and the Genji, but if you run afoul of a turret in the wrong way, it's going to be rough. But Sim is in play, which means that pressure on LG here to make this first push a good one. And they already lose Hedan early on, so that's going to gum them up a little bit.
Not only did they lose Hedan, that's the last thing you want to see pushing into a Sim, is seeing Sim in the kill feed, getting that already at 50% now for Jur, who's going to have either a teleporter or a shield barrier. It has been really up to the Sim's choice whenever they get to that point. So already a really nice start for the double builder Renegades defense.
And again, they are running the Winston here, and Winston has to think a little bit harder about how you dive in on Dorado. It's not an easy in on the defense, and Renegades are more than willing to let LG come to them as they just pepper them with poke from long range. And Spree's trying to crack in here, but thus far not getting as much done on this Pharah as he would like.
It took him very long just to kill the turret too. It can be such a nuisance. Now it's time to deep dive, and they do go in. Beautiful kills from Spree, takes on both turrets immediately as they try to get rebuild, but Hadan also takes down his opposing number in the heals, trying to bring back as the tanks for Renegades do get a couple kills.
And just like that, LG was able to see an opportunity and went in surgically. Multiple members diving at the same time in Spree. Every rocket on point, and this should be a first point cap here from LG. Very difficult to recover as a defense if you get taken out that decisively, Hex, especially as Sherlocky takes another one to the head.
They don't want to give it up. Jur is staying on the Symmetra. He is so close to getting a teleporter down, but he will be hunted down very likely, as that is exactly what the target they're looking for. Superclock takes on Juvenile in the meantime, so now just trickling on to the point. Very unlikely they will be able to stall this out, and now it is time to regroup and probably switch off of their builders.
Now, Hex, how much does this momentum mean going in the second here, where LG did that very cleanly, 4 ultimates up, soon to be 6? How big of an opportunity is this?
When you're going against double builder, if you can crack that first point, you know you're going to be facing 2 new heroes with 0 ult percentage. That's why Jur is over on the Lucio. Mangachu had to switch as well. So taking that advantage from killing people that are going to have to switch heroes is absolutely huge. You got to ride this momentum.
So Spree right now getting poked down a little bit, but a big opportunity here for LG as they look to get in here in second. Icefeld already on in his sights. Going to throw the pulse bomb. Whiffs it right away. But Juvenile tries to over-engage and gets punished horribly. Spree, Justice over the above, finds Jesus. 4v4 right now, so not the worst from Renegades, but Spree has been the problem they have not been able to deal with. And that's interesting given that LG you don't normally see as the Pharah-focused team, but Renegades getting a taste of their own medicine here.
But it is kind of the question now, do they have an answer to a very good Pharah? And this point is going to beg that question. Do they switch to a 76? Mangachu was already on that, didn't have great success against it. Do they need to add in a second hit scan?
Right now, it would definitely help because Spree has been doing whatever he wants. OG, they did have to burn a decent amount of ultimates to get it to the point that they've gotten it to now. But Spree finds Sherlocky again. Sherlocky has been eating rocket after rocket all game long. Saipe, Graviton comes out on the defense, but Ube on the flank. Dragon Blade out. Will take down Saipe. Still looking for more. As Luminosity, it's a brawl on the cart right now. Hack says Mangachu might be able to secure it with the Tac Visor.
Looks like they will finally be able to secure their defense. That was the most Luminosity fight ever. It went on for about 5 minutes and they traded back and forth forever. Very good progress, though. Not quite progress enough where you can not push at this point, though. Not going to go to the right flank, going to go down center again.
Well, Spree, despite all the success he was having, he has gone off the Pharah and gone on the 76, and he catches Jesus off guard, but Mangachu just catches him off guard. A little bit of fair play there as it goes back and forth. So with winning that 76 battle, this isn't bad for Renegades. The dive, though, from LG coming in.
trying to deal with Mangachu. They do bully them back into the point, but Juvenile with a couple of kills in the backline. That is both supports. Losing both of anything signals the end of a fight, in my opinion. Supports, tanks, DPS, and a nice little helix for good measure onto Ube.
Well, it's interesting. Mangachu has sort of carved out a high ground position for himself here where he's not really being challenged. He's just got 2 free kills in over the top with helixes, so we'll see how this works out, but it does feel like LG has lost a lot of their momentum here, and they're switching up heavily again to a degree where you wonder if they really planned for this sort of defense.
Still running a dive-ish composition. I think we should maybe take an eye on Super Pluke, see what he's going to go after, what his target is. Icefeld trying to get in position up top. They know they have to take these stairs back.
Well, they are certainly trying on its Taipei, though. Defensive Genji picking up 2 early on here. And this, for Renegades, again, they have reestablished. They have their multiple threats up once more, and it's not even Mangachu this time. It's Taipei just diving to the back, ends up with 3 before it's all said and done. Icefeld struggling against the wave of inevitability here, as he's just going to have to back out and doesn't even get to throw himself off those cliffs.
While we have a reset here, what do you think of seeing all these Tracers go after Lucios? To me, I feel like it's taking them way too long, and oftentimes they don't get the kill, they get collapsed on and die. Do you just ignore Lucios at some point?
It's hard to say. I mean, if your tracking is on point and you don't get booed back, you can immediately eliminate Lucien. Again, the Mangachu getting free kill after free kill from this high ground. This needs to stop. LG is not respecting him at all. And to your point, it depends on the Lucio and how well a Tracer is playing, but right now it has not been a good day for Tracer v Lucio.
Well, the time to kill has been way too long in a lot of these situations, and they're spending 5 to 10 seconds trying to take down Lucios, and while the fight goes on around them is why I bring up the question. But loaded for bear are both of these teams in this next fight. A little bit stronger is Renegades, but it very likely could be the decisive fight of this point.
And for LG, they do have a decent amount saved up for this, but they're going to have to burn it all in an attempt to get the 3rd. And look at this. They're going on Mangachu with Winston, but he gets slapped! He gets slapped, and now he does get woken up. He's back in on it. That was probably not great. No, Mangachu lucky not to fall off the edge. Meanwhile, Ube getting work done on the other side. Dragon Blade onto Winston. 2 kills here from LG. Mangachu still under pressure by this Winston that just will not go away. But Taipei, Dragon Blade, late in the fight, finds on the Lucio, and Renegades could still bring this back despite that early pressure.
Really early kills from Luminosity were going to have the fight in their favor, but still unable to kill Mangachu. The battle has been going on for a very long time. Spree's going to pop his own tack visor, trying to deal with Mangachu. Finally does get punched and killed by a Primal Raged Winston, though. Fight so back and forth, CP.
This is very back and forth, but this is LG fighting for their lives to bring this to 3rd, to increase their odds of keeping the series going. They dropped the beat. They're moving in still. But it's Jesus versus Icefeld here. Jesus still in and around, stalling out this card on Tracer. Winston going to be zoning him out a bit, but respawns for Renegades are coming in right now, Hex, in what has been an incredibly long fight, but Lucio going down as Jesus is still untouched.
Jesus finally puts a clip in the head of Lucio there, puts him down. Jesus able to take down Super Block as well. It is all in favor of Renegades as their hit scan come alive, combined for 4, Jur for good measure, and they do stop Luminosity before they're able to take the 2nd point.
For Renegades, now, we've seen this movie before, where they've had a really good defense on a payload map, and then we go, wow, they're in a great position, and then they get full held at first. So I don't want to necessarily repeat what we were mentioning at Kings Row, but on the same note, historically, this is a really good position to be in Dorado. The question is, will they be able to beat the 1st point defense of LG?
Very long, drawn-out fights. I know we were talking about Luminosity yesterday, just as we were preparing this, and how Luminosity, they fight longer than any other team. It seems like they fight from beginning to end. They're not necessarily decisive fights, and sometimes that's to their benefit, sometimes that's to their disadvantage.
So one thing I do want to ask you, X, before we get too far removed from it there, is that in that final fight, Mangachu got dove on immediately. But it was just a Winston. He didn't have a whole lot of support going in on him. I feel like if there was anyone else with that Winston, Mangachu would have gone down relatively quickly there. Do you think it was a mistake to only allocate Winston to that particular dive?
Well, I think you make the good point just with your verbiage use. He got dove by the Winston, so it's not a dive comp. It is, guys, let's go dive. It's, oh, I dove and died, because they're only going in one at a time. They need to throw someone else there with them and just not the support, and that's been kind of a trend we've seen all day, where some of these dive compositions, you're running the heroes, you're running all the recipes, but you're not putting it together for its meal.
And that's very true, because again, you take a look at that, Mangachu was just running around there, just getting electrocuted the entire time, but apparently he liked it, because you know what, he ended up living, got back into the fight, and it was a big part for why Renegades ended up holding there at 2nd.
Jesus queuing up, for the moment at least, on an offensive Widowmaker, and any other time I'd say probably gonna switch off, but given Jesus' Widowmaker tonight, this used to be Widow's playground, Dorado.
Well, and there's a reason for that. You think about even Widow on defense where you can get on that back archway. There's not that many heroes that can easily get in on her. And even if you do, it's an investment. And already, though, Juvenile a little bit too far out, immediately getting punished by Super Fluke. So they're going to have to wait for Winston to come back in here in this case. But I'm really interested to see what Jesus will do Widow-wise. But as I say that, I'm never going to get an answer. He's going to Tracer instead.
He does switch off. Mangachu just getting the poke now as he's got damage boost on the left side, aptly dodging that hook there. They know they're going into a Symmetra, so that is kind of on their mind that they only have a few fights to do so before teleporters up.
Mangachu right now going in. This is very reminiscent of what Spree did on the last round. Diving in on the back, trying to get Symmetra. Symmetra getting saved at the last moment, but no, will go down. But they invest a lot into that there, Hex. That is effectively the entire Renegades offense just to take down Sim. Definitely not worth.
Definitely not worth at all, as the ultimate advantage should be shifting over to Luminosity now, given all of those kills. Mineral still at 63%, though. Not unfeasible to think that he would be able to get his charge up during this next fight anyway, as he will rejoin the fray. So Mangachu still on that Pharah, looking for those picks. Jesus and Saipe, again, they're running this very aggressive composition.
They are, and we'll see how long they stay on it if this next fight does not have the results they're looking for. But for now, LG very confident in just staying here in the back in this defensive Dorado posture. And look at how far back Icefeld is. He's not even giving an easy entry as he takes down Saipe early on, gets on the Mangachu. Icefeld is the problem once more.
He's been great on his 76 all night, able to take down that Pharah. Beautiful splash damage on his Helix Rocket to take down Jesus, and this allows Mineral time to get his ultimate up. Ultimate's definitely in favor of Luminosity Gaming.
When do you switch here, Hex, if you are Renegades? Because teams have been really poor at swapping until they only have a minute left. Well, now they have 2 minutes left, and they're still committing to this. Are they just all in at this point?
I believe they are, and one knock that I will put on Mangachu, despite all of the praise I have lofted on him, he can be a bit stubborn as far as switching heroes. So he's on the Pharah now, 88%. You have to imagine if the barrage doesn't go well, I think they're going to give it, just probably stay on the rest of the time. They have a res up too.
Well, they have the shield generator up here. They're not for the defense. They don't have a teleporter, so kills matter, but it's going to be much harder for the offense to get those kills because a soldier with 275 HP is a terror, and LG, nothing even crazier, just solid mechanical play, aided by that shield generator, and Renegades now, are they going to have deja vu repeat itself as they just, Jesus, way in the backfield?
Well, Hidan went down, but they did have a second healer up in that shield gem before Jesus killed that. Jesus then camps out, waits for Hidan. There is no healing on the front line as Jesus remains in the back.
This is competitive pub strategy 101, but the Anas have this fight. They've created their own 6v5. Mangachu with the justice raining from above. This gambit has worked out, at least for now. The res does come in, and we'll see if Renegades can keep up the momentum. Saipe, blade up. Luminosity coming back in, trying to keep this going, but it's an innovative setup here by Renegades that Hex might have just cracked his first point.
Fluke finally goes down, but all the kills have been in favor of Luminosity as that duel comes down from Saipe. He's playing a great Genji right now as he looks to clean up the remainder of this. He does. Dash resets for days as he takes down both Icefeld and Hidan. Jesus takes down his counterpoint in Ube as they clean that up, and now just pressing forward, trying to get a little bit more charge will be Saipe already taking control of this high ground.
And for Renegades, their backs were against the wall, Hex, and now they have 3 minutes to go through second. It's a decent amount of time, but it doesn't leave as much room for error as you might think. It's going to be very beneficial for them to use this sound barrier to their advantage while LG is effectively knocked down a bit and try and at least get it right to the last point here on second.
Both teams will rotate into a combo play of Pharah and Mercy, Hidan and Ube for Luminosity. But here comes the sound barrier as Saipe is trying to get even more damage done on his Genji.
Well, they use that sound barrier. It's a very good effect. Hex, they end up with 2 early on. They do lose Sherlocky in the back. Icefeld able to take down that support, but he's doing this short-handed now as the rest of Renegades is moving forward into the remnants of LG. And LG, they're not going to be able to sustain here, and this is going to mean that Renegades is 1 fight away, Hex, from taking their first series in the Overwatch Carbon Series.
They know they're in trouble as Ube does switch off to McCree. They do not have an answer for Jesus on this Widow, though. They accidentally blind picked a Mercy combo into this Widow, which did not work out well for him. Jesus looking to do the yeoman's work and get them pushed out on this Widow to secure this second point.
And Jesus right now just looking for Icefeld. That is his main target, but he's going to get a Winston right in his face. Not what you want early on. Meanwhile, Icefeld, attack visor blown, doesn't have to worry about the Widow. The Widow's under pressure. Finds Lucio early on in this fight, but we have a Dragon Blade out and on the way. We'll see here, Saipe moving in. looking for his opportunity. Down goes Heat, and 3 kills here from Renegades, and Hex, they are on the verge of doing the side bait. Dragon Blade of his own, moving in, finds one. Will he pick up the double? Doesn't do it here just yet, but everything going the way of Renegades as this card does not stop.
Well, sure luck, he got the resurrection in there earlier on, and you could tell how important Icefelt knew that was as he tried a risky mid-air Helix rocket to take down that Mercy, unable to do so. Since then, it has been all Renegades. They are so close to filling up that yellow box of victories. EP almost have it.
LG right now stalling for their lives. They are fighting for it. They have to get a pick now or never here, Hex, and it is not happening right now. They lose Hedan. They're not going to be able to sustain. Juvenile mopping things up with that Tesla cannon. Has the triple kill here on Winston. It is all hands on deck for LG, and they are getting thrown aside. Victory sound barrier on verge here for Renegades. Justice rating from above as Mangachu and the Renegades win Dorado and take the series.
Jesus is running that Widow, and he gets a gift that they switch onto the combo. They switch onto Pharah Mercy blindly because they didn't know he was switching onto Widow. That was just everyone after first point was taken. Both teams decided, let's run this, let's run that. And then Jesus, maybe he didn't show up a lot in the kill feed, but changes the scope of the battlefield. Mangachu, play of the game.
I gotta say, it's a little bit weird to have both teams put out that early. That's one of the only times I've ever seen the winning team only have 3 people. Usually it's a losing team that makes the exit stage left. That's really what's going out to be. It's a great play of the game, but